Hello, and welcome to the USHthis Family Forum. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, and we're just going to give everybody a few minutes to join on. For those of you that would like to access our captioning service, the link can be found in the chat pod. And we're just going to give a few minutes for all our attendees to arrive. So for those of you just joining us, welcome. If you have just joined us and would like to use our captioning service, you can find the link in the chat pod. And we're just going to give everybody about a minute to join on. Hello again, and welcome to the USHthis Family Forum. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, and we want to welcome you for all attending this evening. My name is Carly Fredericks. I am the founder of Ava's Voice and the director of our USHthis Summer Youth Camp. First and foremost, we hope that everyone is well joining us today. I know this has been an overwhelming time for many reasons, and I know I can speak on behalf of all of our Ava's Voice family when I say we could not be more eager to host this event this evening. We want to share this wonderful opportunity with our community, and there's so much to be said about camp. And I hope that this evening will bring you the excitement that we have been feeling forging ahead with our planning today. So I do want to go over some housekeeping. As you can see on your screen, we do have Kathy, our interpreter. For those of you that would like to utilize the interpreter in a larger window, you can go to the top right of the screen and there will be 3 dots. Click on that and you can pin the video to see our interpreter in full screen. For those of you that would like to access our captioning service, you can find the link to our service in the chat pod. Click there and you will be able to customize your experience according to your needs. You can also minimize the Zoom presentation and minimize the Zoom link so that you can have a side-by-side view. This may be a little bit challenging if you are accessing this conference by your phone. So if you do want that side-by-side experience, I would encourage you to leave the meeting and come back in and re-access that service, and you can minimize it to make it side-by-side. So as we share this opportunity tonight, we will have a Q&A opportunity where you can ask all of your questions throughout the presentation. On our screen, you will also notice Nancy O'Donnell. She is our camp administrator for our USHthis Summer Youth Camp, and she will be monitoring the Q&A so that we can answer all of your questions. The Q&A chat pod is located at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you, if they're not answered and we don't get to them this evening because we have just about an hour, we will be sure to follow up with everyone accordingly. There is a regular chat pod that should be on the right of your screen. And we definitely encourage you to let us know about any technical difficulties you may be experiencing, and just to let us know that you're here and that you're joining us this evening. For our campers and counselors that have joined us in the past, we would love for you to just reach out, say hello, let us know that you're here, and share any excitement that you have about this upcoming summer. Hi, Linnea. Hi, Miriam. Welcome. Linnea was one of our lead counselors for our girls' cabin. And so we're so excited that she's going to be back this summer. Hi, Lane. Hi, Connor. So we would like to let you know, we are just going to do a quick accessibility check. We just want to make sure everyone has access to the interpreter as well as our captioning service. So if you are experiencing any challenges, we encourage you to just write that now in the chat pod. And we're going to give a quick minute for an accessibility check. Okay, I'm going to ask all of our panelists to please unhide your cameras and join us for this evening's event. And I'm going to just quickly address a question that came up in the chat pod. Hi, Meg. To secure captioning, at the top of the chat pod, there is a link. You're going to go ahead and click on that link, and it's going to open up in another window. There is where you can customize the experience depending on your needs. Okay. I'm just going to check on our panelists, make sure everybody is on. Okay. So first and foremost, off camera, I would like to just take a quick moment to thank Nancy Quarterman and the Usher Syndrome Society for providing our webinar platform this evening and being one of our biggest supporters of our USHthis camp. So thank you to the Usher Syndrome Society. As I shared, we have Nancy O'Donnell. Nancy is our USHthis Administrator. So she is going to be that lovely person who we call Mom at our USHthis camp that will be addressing all of your questions and needs and will be communicating back and forth with you as you apply for your camper or your counselor position. We also have Pam Eisen, who is off video. She will be monitoring our chat pod this evening and addressing all of your technical needs. Pam is a fellow USH mom herself, who is also a board member of Ava's Voice. And she is our educational specialist that is on site at camp that leads a lot of our assessments. Off camera, not with us just yet this evening, is Rebecca Alexander. And she is our strength coach. She is also a psychotherapist by profession and an individual with Usher syndrome. She facilitates a lot of our discussions that happen throughout our week and heads many of our activities. I have to say she does bring the party because Rebecca sure does love camp. In addition to our admin, we have a travel coordinator, an accessibility advisor, and an orientation and mobility instructor, along with a comprehensive staff that has experience working with individuals with Usher syndrome, as well as some volunteers who just have the passion to work within our community. On camera, we are so pleased this evening to have the owner of Forest Lake Camp, Jeff Blank. Jeff, as well as his partner Tobin, who is not with us this evening, head Forest Lake Camp and have been such a wonderful resource and advisor to our organization to be able to make this experience happen. Joining him this evening is also Brett Booker, who is the camp director. Brett spent a lot of time with us on camp last year and really got to see the ins and outs of our USHthis Summer Youth Camp and provide us guidance and his vast experience running camps for many, many years. So I want to thank you both for joining us this evening as well. We feel so blessed to have found our Forest Lake family and the grounds that we can now consider our home for our USHthis Summer Youth Camp. So what we thought next, we thought to provide what would be best to really provide what USHthis is all about, is to provide a short clip where you can hear from the campers and counselors themselves. So I hope everyone is really excited. We're going to take this time, just a short minute, so that you can view our preview video.
At first, I was kind of nervous because I've never gone to a sleepaway camp before.
Well, I mean, when I first arrived, I kind of felt a little nervous.
But coming into this, I was really, really hesitant.
It felt weird for me. I've never really been around that many people or anybody other than my older sister who have Usher syndrome.
I was definitely a little uneasy, going into camp. I've never done sleepaway camp before either.
I didn't really know what to expect.
I was actually kind of nervous about how it would turn out and like that kind of fear of the unknown.
I said I didn't want to go to the camp. My mom was like, "We'll have fun." And I was like, "No, I won't." And I kept not wanting to go. And then I was not that happy when I got here.
The idea of children in my presence struggling with things, especially in a place that's unfamiliar and potentially dangerous, like that made me very, very anxious and very nervous.
Like USHthis Camp, that's interesting. Like I never thought of bringing Usher kids together and putting them on a camp.
To hear about kids that know at some point they're going to go blind or can't hear, it just struck me as something for a kid to live with that. It seemed like such a hard thing.
I am just humbled by how well they deal with everything. I became overwhelmed with the number of different things that they must have to deal with on a daily basis. I'm very fortunate that for whatever reason, they decided to have their camp here.
But the second I got here, all of those fears went out the window. These kids are absolute rock stars.
These kids are amazing. They just are overcoming and being kids and just have that perseverance and determination to live life to its fullest and enjoy every experience.
They knew here what it felt like, not only personally to experience having a device fall off your head and not being able to find it, but they also wanted everyone to perform and be at their best. To realize that people could be encouraged and recognized for their strengths and not for their weaknesses is so uncommon, especially among, I think, 11 to 14-year-olds, among kids in general. So it was just really wonderful to watch.
I still don't quite know the words to use to express how I personally have been affected by their visit.
What an incredible group of children that deal with these every single day. They gave me motivation to do things that I didn't think that I could do.
If Usher syndrome has taught me anything, it's that I really just don't know what people are walking around with.
It is absolutely mind-blowing to see how confident they are and how willing to take risks they are and how bold they are and brave they are. And we didn't hear one complaint the entire time. I was whining more than any of them. And so everything about this has just been so fulfilling and so amazing and so eye-opening, and it changes the definition of the word disability, because in my eyes these kids have no limitations, and they're going to live very, very big, powerful, beautiful lives.
Because it truly is an amazing experience, because it's just so empowering how we lift one another up.
I kind of don't want it to end because it's just been fun, and like every single day, it's always been a new challenge.
We all had each other's backs, and it was such a fun and wonderful and exciting week. And I'm so glad that I had that experience.
And now I'm kind of sad that I'm leaving camp.
It's been a very impactful and powerful experience. Just I don't know, there's just such beauty in every person here.
To just find out that you have Usher syndrome and now you're around all these kids in a camp experience, just being kids, but then you're learning about yourself. We're not always going to be on our best game, but what matters is that we pick ourselves up and we're confident in who we are as people, not people with Usher syndrome. It was just a breathtaking moment to sit back and watch those connections happen. And this is really what camp is all about. What is that missing piece? This was it.
I took a moment and made sure that I watched that video many times and got all my tears out, because every time I watch it, I never thought that we could truly capture the magic that happened at Forest Lake Camp during that week. And when this video had come through, it really hit home for me, because all of the things that we hoped to happen in just a very short time together exceeded all of our expectations. There was so much magic in that week. It was almost hard to really explain just with words. And I know our campers and counselors, I'm wondering how you're feeling now just watching that video for the first time. So feel free to share what that was like in our chat pod. I know it gives me the chills. So I wanted to take a moment. I thought that it would be really nice this evening to, one, just be able to share with you a little bit of history about how our USHthis camp experience happened. So Ava's Voice, our organization that is overseeing many of these initiatives, started back in about 2015. And our primary kind of goal was really just to raise awareness by educating families and school communities. So we started locally here in the state of New Jersey. And as things evolved, we were yearning for connections. As a parent of a child with Usher syndrome myself, we didn't have Facebook when Ava was first diagnosed. So being able to connect with another parent was just something that I just was yearning for. And to meet older kids that were living with Usher syndrome, for her to connect with, was just something that was really close to my heart. So as the years evolved and we started raising funds for Ava's Voice, we decided, and I was a camp counselor when I was young, we decided that camp, what a perfect place to be able to bring kids together. So we kind of set out on a journey where we decided that we were going to allocate these funds that were raised by the organization to pilot this experience and just see, is this a need for kids and for counselors? As I shared earlier, it was an overwhelming experience to see what happened throughout one short week. So last year, August 2019, we decided to take 24 individuals to camp, 13 of which had Usher syndrome. And this was compiled of campers, counselors, and even some of our staff. We did this with the funds from Ava's Voice. And throughout the week, we did self-advocacy assessments. We learned about each other. We had discussions that were facilitated by our strength coach, Rebecca Alexander, just to talk about some of the topics that just come up with living with Usher syndrome on a daily basis. So because of the overwhelming response that we received, we decided that this was going to be an initiative that we wanted to provide in the future. It just so happened that on the grounds of Forest Lake Camp at the same time, there was a family camp that was going on girls camp. And that sounds familiar to some of our campers and counselors, but USHthis Summer Youth Camp was held up on boys camp, and we had family camp down on girls camp. So one of our families had just had the opportunity to connect with us and learn a little bit more about Usher syndrome, and they decided to fully fund our experience for the year 2020. So we are excited that we are able to announce this evening that we are funded for our USHthis Summer Youth Camp experience, and we are hopeful to take 40 individuals, 29 of which will have Usher syndrome, in camper, counselor, and staff roles with us to Forest Lake Camp this year. So our goal really is just to provide a traditional camp experience in an Usher-friendly environment. It's just a safe place to connect with peers, seek guidance and comfort from mentors, and have an opportunity to just learn about yourself. So we provide the resources for campers and counselors to have an opportunity to make informed decisions. So when you say an Usher-friendly, safe place, what does that mean? We don't make it a perfect environment. However, we're providing the tools and the resources so that everybody can make informed decisions. Throughout this experience, we really learned about each other, the strengths, the weaknesses that we have, and how we work together to really figure out, how can we overcome some of these barriers? It may have nothing to do with Usher syndrome, and we're just learning a little bit more about ourselves. So for us, I know it's probably challenging for you to say, okay, this may be the first time you ever send your child to camp, or let alone send them across the country to attend camp. So our hope this evening is that we can maybe answer some of those questions that you have, to put some of those emotions at ease, and also to be able to address some of the situations that are going on right now worldwide. I know that, there are many questions and many unknowns at this time. We are hopeful that we will still be able to host camp. That is why we invited Forest Lake Camp staff to join us this evening to share some of those operational plans that we will have put in place so that everyone feels safe. Who knew the world would be going under quarantine and that it would be lasting, this amount of time being home. So we want to make sure that that is our utmost priority, is keeping everyone safe. We are working collaboratively and following the guidance of both the CDC, the Forest Lake Camp staff, and Governor Cuomo, who is sharing information about how New York will be addressing sleepaway camps this summer. And we want to keep you updated accordingly so that you could follow along with us. But we hope that this information will pique your interest, maybe raise some more questions that you may have that we can share with you tonight, and then share with you the next steps on how you can apply to be part of this experience. So I'm going to now ask our Forest Lake Camp staff to come on camera. And we're going to share a little bit about some of our plans due to COVID-19 and running camp this summer.
Hello, everyone. So I'll try to keep it as uncomplicated as I possibly can, because as you can imagine, there are many different facets and lots of things that we must do in order to comply to guidelines that are handed to us by the ACA, which is the American Camp Association, that comes from the governor's office. And so in terms of our camp during summer camp, you are looking at girls camp with a maximum capacity of 90 campers and boys camp with a maximum capacity of 90 campers. And so the very first thing that we decided we needed to make sure that we were able to do was to create a bubble on Forest Lake Camp. For those of you who may not know, we are at the end of a private road, 1.25 miles from the nearest Route 9. We have our own private spring-fed lake, so we do not share a lake space with anybody else. And so we can create something of a bubble. So we needed to make sure that we could, first and foremost, provide testing. And so our campers will undergo a test, which will be taken at home 4 days before they are due to arrive. That test goes into a lab. It is a lab test that is 99.99% effective. And those results are sent to the parents and are sent to us at Forest Lake Camp. And then on arrival, 4 days later, each of the campers will be tested with a test that's very similar to the rapid flu test. It's a 15-minute turnaround. And then once we have been given the all clear, then those campers will be allowed to enter camp. It's going to be slightly different for anybody who's ever been to a summer camp. Arrivals Day is a massive plus. It's a very busy, happening event with lots of campers coming and going. And so instigating arrival times for specific camp groups so as we can kind of slow down that arrival process, which is normally, it goes in fits and starts. You have a big group that arrives at 9 o'clock and then there's a space and then another big group at 12 o'clock. So we are going to spread those out over hourly increments and have the campers arrive and be tested while they arrive. And so we will then be able to have all of the campers on camp safely tested. Our counselors are going to arrive 2 weeks before the campers arrive, and they will be quarantined for 14 days as well as being tested. And then throughout the 5 weeks of camp, which is split into 2 sessions, a 2-week session and a 3-week session, the counsellors will have, well, they have been asked and have accepted the challenge of staying on camp for the entirety of those 7 weeks. And so normally counsellors would have nights off where they could go into the local towns, they could go to the cinema, they could go to bowling alleys, they could go to, you know, all those great places that young people between the ages of 17 and 21 would go. We are going to keep them on camp. We're going to give them some entertainment of our own so as we can potentially protect our bubble as much as we can. We know that there will be holes in that bubble because we will be taking food deliveries and we will be obviously receiving mail coming in once or twice a day. But in order to keep the groups separate, we have cohorts, as they're called by the ACA, which is a group of people. And that group of people is boys camp. And then there is another group of people that is girls camp. And within those groups, we do not see any requirements for wearing PPE. There will be some restrictions around making sure that shared activity equipment is cleaned and sanitized after every use, and extra precaution with hand washing and around food delivery in the mess hall. That was one long monologue, so I'm just going to hand it over to Jeff to see if I potentially probably did miss something or other out of that.
That was a fantastic job. The only thing I would add, Brett, is for everybody is that we have a 17-page operational plan that we've put together with the guidance of the ACA and CDC, and has been vetted by a medical advisory board that we have in place. And that medical advisory board consists of a 40-year veteran who's a top-notch national infectious disease expert. It involves a ER director who was down on the forefront of this at Greenwich Hospital when they took on half the New Rochelle patients, basically at ground zero. It involves a pediatrician parent of ours who was also involved in the front lines, and then also the CEO, founding CEO of Hudson Headwaters, which is the local healthcare system. And the 4 of them have looked at all of our plans and vetted them, and we're super excited. Of course, there are no guarantees, but we are extremely confident of what we've put together and with their backing. So yeah, we're excited for the summer, and I think we've created a pretty good plan to keep everyone safe and healthy and have as normal summer as possible, because kids need camp.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The last thing I would add is the information that I delivered and then Jeff followed up with sounds very clinical. It sounds very uncamp, but all of those things that we're talking about is so as we can deliver as close to a normal summer for the campers as possible. And we have all of our staff working on some great ideas for extra activities on camp. Obviously, it's an 823-acre property. So I know last year you guys hiked out to Big Rocks. We have 22 miles of our own trails on camp, so we really don't need to go anywhere else. And so although on arrivals day, there will be some nurses in the car park and there will be some testing going on, there will also probably be the odd song going on, jugglers on the camp road, and we'll be trying to find out all the circus skills that our staff might possess just to make arrivals day as big and as tip-top as it should always be.
Well, we thank you both for that, and we felt the same, and we want everybody to know. So in making these decisions, obviously Ava's Voice hosting the USHthis Summer Youth Camp is only a week-long experience. So for us, we may be discussing all of the logistics around our kids. However, we're really relying heavily on the guidance of Jeff and Brett and their experience running a full-time camp summer after summer. So as you know, Jeff has shared, there is a 17-page document behind the operational plans of running a safe camp so that kids can really experience camp the way camp should be. So we want to put everybody at ease that, you know, these plans are in place, and obviously, you know, you will now have this information to make an informed decision if this is something that you would like your camper or counselor to participate in. Brett, I'm so glad that you were able to share a little bit about what the counselors go through. So I'm sure it might be a little confusing to people about, well, if you have counselors, Do you use their counselors? So I just wanted to touch a base a little bit on that. So USHthis does have our own counselors who have Usher syndrome. We also have hearing and sighted counselor mentors that support our counselors in making informed decisions, leading their groups. However, the FLC staff is with us on a daily basis. So they may be running specific activities. They are down at waterfront hosting activities for us. We may be doing rock climbing or going on a hike to Big Rock, as Brett has shared. So they're giving us the true FLC experience. They know all of the grounds, they know all of the history of Forest Lake Camp, and they're sharing that with us throughout the week as we are really just providing that traditional camp experience to our kids. One of my favorites was, it was an unexpected surprise last year that we got to go down and be with the horses. That was not something that was traditionally on our agenda for the week. And FLC said, you have to experience this. Why don't you go take the kids down there? So we did. And it was, I know Linnea is probably chomping at the bit right now because she remembers even being able to take those horses down to the water. So it is a very organic experience. We do try to make a variety of activities that the campers can experience. However, they are moving with their fellow female campers and fellow male campers. Yes, and I did say chomping at the bit, Alan. Get it? So we do have a girls' cabin and we do have a boys' cabin. So while the kids are separated into cabins, sometimes throughout the day they are experiencing activities together. So there are times that we come together as a group, and there's sometimes that we go off independently. We will be hopefully taking a survey shortly with all of our registrants that are applying for a position to camp about what activities they are interested in this summer. So for all you returning campers, we really are going to rely heavily on some of the things that you're interested in participating in to figure that out. But like I shared, we are integrating with FLC staff as well. And that has always been a wonderful experience. So I'm going to take a moment to just pause and see if we have any questions in regards to some of those operational plans. And I'm going to open up the Q&A chat pod and see if Nancy has any questions from our parents or our campers or counselors.
So far, we're good.
We're good. It's quiet.
Quiet.
I'll give everybody a minute. If you do have a question, this is a perfect time to ask. And we would love to address those questions. I know, and I'm going to share once again, and you will find in the regular chat pod a link to all of those updates that FLC is sharing. And in the chat pod, Alan also highlighted that if you have ice cream requests, you better have them in by July 18th, because you will not be able to leave camp to pick up ice cream this year. So we do have a question in the regular chat pod from Jessica. How will you be choosing the kids that can go if there are more than 40 that apply? That is a really great question, Jessica. We are hopeful, just based on the interest that we have shared over the past year, that we will have enough positions for everyone that applies. However, the way that we choose that is, one, you'll see when you go to USHthis.org, there is an application process. We will be reviewing that with you and gauge your child's level of comfort in attending camp. We also may ask additional information about how much they know about having Usher syndrome. And we are also going to make sure that we have the matches so that, let's say, as we all know, there are several types of Usher syndrome. So we want to make sure if we have campers with Usher type 3, that we have other campers with type 3 that they can connect with. But our goal really is to hopefully have everyone attend. But if there are any major concerns or anything like that, we will absolutely be communicating directly with the parent in regards to some of those concerns. But we're hopeful that increasing our numbers and doubling our numbers from last year, that we will have enough space for everyone.
This is Nancy. Linnea asked a question. When will our Usher counselors be tested when they arrive at camp?
So Brett, I'm going to refer to you one more time to kind of review that process of how it works, because it's going to be the same for counselors and campers.
There we go. Hey, Linnea, good to see you. Chomping at the bit. I like that. Good job, Alan. So in terms of, for our staff will obviously arrive 14 days before, and they will be tested during that time. And one of the reasons we're doing that for our summer camp staff is because we hope, and fingers crossed on this too, some of them are coming internationally, our summer camp staff. But for the USHthis camp, we envisage that your staff will be dealt with in the same way that your campers would be dealt with. So there would be a home test sent to them 4 days before your arrival date. They will submit that test. It will go to the lab. Results sent to us or to USHthis. And then when you arrive, you'll be tested again.
So this is Carly. Lane, I hope that answers your question, your first question as well. So she said, what activity restrictions might there be due to COVID? Also, we are traveling by plane from Seattle. Would we be testing before we head out, or are there guideline suggestions that we should try to head to the East Coast early and then test? So to answer your second question, it would be the same. We would mail them out to you 4 days prior to arrival. So if you are already local here to the camp, we would send it to wherever you are residing at that time to take the test, return it, and then when you come on site at camp, dependent if the test is positive or negative. Obviously, anyone that tests positive would not be able to attend camp, but if it is negative, you will join us at camp and test on site. In regards to the restriction of activities, Brett, I'm going to defer to you. Is there any restrictions at all, or once essentially we have that bubble, we're confident that we could run camp as such?
I can't see that there are any restrictions for USHthis camp. For our summer camp, the restrictions are we are not taking them water skiing. We would normally take our campers water skiing on Lake George, and we are not involved in inter-camp competitions this year, so not leaving to play soccer against other camps. But in terms of on-camp activities, everything is go as normal, with the exception for us for summer camp of pottery, ceramics, because we take the clay to be fired locally, and instead we're going to replace that with woodworking for our campers. The horses will still be there.
Okay, I'm going to see if there's any other questions.
Carly, if I can just chime in on the flying question on in our operational plan, and I see that there's a link in the chat room. It outlines the specific guidelines that we have for anyone flying to camp as well. So you would get tested at home, and then for the actual flight and the actual travel, there are certain things that we would be asking as far as wearing masks, not getting food at the airport or on the plane, packing your own food, how to fill a water bottle, and things like that. So that's all outlined on there.
Great, thank you. So we do have another question. It's from Julia. Would counselors need to arrive prior to the 16th? So the answer is yes. So the USHthis Summer Youth Camp for counselors starts on the 15th. So all our counselors and admin arrive. They undergo a counselor training, as well as we do a training for the FLC staff. They then spend the night in the cabins, and then they are part of our welcome team when our campers arrive on the 16th. Everyone then departs on that Friday, the 21st. So for counselors and staff and volunteers, once again, you will arrive the 15th, which is that Saturday, and everyone will depart on the 21st. I'm going to see if any other questions. And I see that Rebecca Alexander has joined us. So I'm going to ask Rebecca to come on screen.
Ta-da! Hi, everybody. Can you see me okay?
You can.
Hi guys. Well, I got to tell you, I've heard a lot of camps canceling this summer and everybody being up in arms about what's going to happen. And we were on the call with Forest Lake last week. Was it last week? I don't know. All the days blend in. But I was so impressed with the way that you guys have handled this, how much of the homework you did. You had questions that came from every possible direction, from the most neurotic parents I've ever heard speak in my life. And you really have provided a sense of kind of understanding for so many of us of kind of how this process is going to work. So I'm eager. You know, I think many of us are just kind of trying to figure out what the new normal is going to look like and what camp will look like. And I really appreciate all of the extra time and effort you're putting into figuring out how to make this work and create a safe and comfortable environment.
Yes, I have to agree with you, Rebecca. It was so reassuring because for so many of us, we've been having these behind the scenes conversations. And I know there's been counselors. Jacob has been wonderful, reaching out, saying, what's going on with camp? Everyone's trying to plan accordingly. But having so much unknown, you know, we really are taking this step by step. So, you know, I have to echo you that we agree that we are so grateful for Forest Lake to really thinking through this process so that we have the opportunity to bring our camp there as well this summer. For many of us, it's been even in our community can be very isolating in itself. So going through quarantine and thinking about not hosting camp this summer, you know, it was heartbreaking. So we are going to make every effort. We know that there's still a lot of unknown, but we're hopeful that we will be there and sharing the magic again. So what is going to be your number one pick for activities this summer, Rebecca?
Definitely the wall climb, for sure. I think I was a little overconfident when I went into it before, and so it was a little wobbly. So that side one, the really hard one that Robin got up, and I'm sure Linnea did, and I know Ryder was up there in like 3 seconds. And so many of the kids. What's up?
I think Gianna was showing us all up too.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm really motivated to get to the top of that. And I really love doing this time. I'm going to make sure that I have a full piece swimsuit so I don't have to wear a white t-shirt. Thanks for the forewarning on that one, Brett. No, but I'm super excited just to be able to do the activities again. Archery, I killed. So thrilled. You know, listen, for those of us with Usher syndrome, our central vision is pretty strong usually for doing archery. And the games that Forest Lake taught us on the basketball courts, like the introduction games, those are so fun. The ones where like you introduce yourself and like one of you is like chopping wood and the other person is, I don't know, it was super fun. So I'm so excited for those games too, because I'm a 41-year-old. I'm actually a 12-year-old stuck in a 41-year-old's body. So I'm really excited. I really hope that we can all be there.
Well, I'm excited for the rock climb too. I'm not going to psych myself out and think that the ropes holding everyone up are snakes again. But I am really excited to just be on camp. We do have another question. So Paul and Jenny Miller, welcome. And we're so excited to have Bennett back this year and considering his brother joining us as well. They want to know, when would we find out for sure if they have been accepted into camp so that we can make travel arrangements? That is a great question. So our hope is next step would be hearing from the governor of the state of New York. Once we know the answer to all sleepaway camps, we're hopeful that we can make a decision accordingly. USHthis is a little bit different since we are a rental camp. However, we will be following all of the guidelines accordingly. So we are hopeful to learn that sooner than later. Unfortunately, we don't have a specific date, but once you do go through the application process, we will let you know that you are accepted. It will be up to each independent family how they would like to secure those travel plans, and you can find more information on our website. Jenny, I do know that you have shared some wonderful resources on how to get additional funds to sponsor kids to have travel stipends from local organizations. So we may reach out to you to connect you with some other parents, but first and foremost, that would be the responsibility of the family for travel. So if anybody has questions regarding that, feel free to email us and we can either connect you with Jenny or be able to share some additional resources to help get stipends for travel expenses. And in the chat pod, I do see that Gianna is still happy to call herself Spider-Woman, and she earned that. Gavin asked a question, will there be another camp while we are there like last year? So yes, at this time, the family camp that was held at Forest Lake last year will be running as well at this present time, and they will be down at girls camp while we will remain at boys camp. That is still the plan. And Pam did note that she is going to attempt the rock climb this year. I'm glad we'll be able to see you out of mess hall, Pam. Okay. Nance, what is your favorite, what are you going to be looking forward to this year? I know this was your first experience at camp was last year.
I'm a new camper, so I'm looking forward to archery, and maybe I'll even go in the lake this year.
All right. We got you in the canoe.
Oh, that was easy. Bentley's on the call. Hopefully Bentley and I will go out in the middle and hang again, and anyone else who wants to come along would be great.
All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about the next steps. So if you are interested in your camper attending, or you would like to be considered as a counselor for this year's camp, what we're going to do is we are going to share a link via email with all of the attendees on this call. It could also be found in the chat pod or by typing in www.USHthis.org. And that's going to give you detailed information regarding camp that we reviewed tonight. And there you're going to click apply. There are, again, age restrictions. So your camper has to be 11 by August 1st and 17 by August 31st. If you are being considered as a counselor, you have to be at the age of 18 by August 1st or the age of 24 by August 31st. So if you are interested, you would then go up to apply. It's going to ask you some initial information. Nancy and I will be receiving all of the submissions for those applications, and then we will be contacting you directly for some follow-up questions. Once you are accepted into camp, you will have to provide some additional documentation. There are some medical forms that will need to be filled out, as well as some educational forms that we may ask for to support your camper. At that time, again, if there are any additional questions or concerns, you will have that one-to-one time with an USHthis admin staff. Once you are accepted, again, there will be a small registration fee. We have not determined that fee yet at this time because it will include part of that COVID testing. So once we have those final logistics and you're accepted into camp, we'll let you know what those fees are. You will share with us your level of interest if you are accepting the position as a camper or counselor. And then we will proceed with collecting that documentation and you could start securing your travel plans. We do have an USHthis travel coordinator. So once you accept the position, we will connect you with our USHthis coordinator. Her name is Kira Freeman. And she will be contacting you directly to help make arrangements. If you're flying in, the closest airport is Albany Airport. And we do have a shuttle that will be available to take you from the airport to Forest Lake and then back to the airport upon departure. So Kira will reach out to you. We make sure that we have all the personalized information. As some of you may know, Bennett was our champ last year. His flight was delayed so many times. He didn't arrive on camp until 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was a trooper. He was up at 7:30 the next morning, ready to go and be part of the experience. So things do happen. However, we are really diligent in being in communication with you and letting you know that your camper and counselor is safe. And we also provide platforms such as Facebook groups to be able to communicate with the families throughout the week. There is limited service on camp. But if there are emergencies, we do provide you with the contact information for the Forest Lake staff main office. So there's always a way to get in contact with us. And we do like to share things throughout at least once a day. We have to go to a very special spot to post, but we do our very best so that you could see how happy your camper is and how happy your counselor is throughout the week.
There's a question from Ezra. Will any previous counselors be there?
That's a great question, Ezra. So
Alan definitely will not be there. I just don't think it's a good idea. But I'm sorry, Carly, I just want to interrupt you. I'm sorry that I laughed and interrupted you. I read the chats and Alan said, please order XXL t-shirts this year, quarantine.
You know, I was thinking that myself because I had to make a special new shirt for this evening because I have the quarantine belly as well. So we will make sure that we put out a poll to all of our previous camper and counselors to make sure we have right size t-shirts. And we also have to
answer Ezra's question. Sorry, I interrupted.
That's okay. We also have to make sure we have the 3X for our tall counselor, Tyler, to make sure that he has one as well this year. So to answer your question, Ezra, yes, all of our counselors, with the exception of one, have expressed an interest, but we all want to congratulate Robin in getting married. Congratulations, Robin, if you're listening in. We are very, very happy for you. But she had to move her date to August 15th for her celebration wedding. So she will not be joining us this year. However, all of the other counselors have expressed an interest in reapplying to be a counselor. So I hope that makes you happy. And Rebecca Allen said lies. He would never miss it.
Yes, he's coming. I was teasing.
Okay, any other questions? Again, there may be questions that pop into your mind after this call. We want to encourage you to reach out to us in any platform. In the chat pod, you'll also see we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can always email us at avasvoice@gmail.com. We're happy to get back to you. Please make sure either which way you go on to USHthis.org. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, there is a link to subscribe for all updates regarding our USHthis camp experience. I would encourage you to do that first, even before applying, so that you receive the updates as they're evolving day to day. But again, we're hopeful that we just will be able to provide an opportunity and a safe place for kids to just be kids. I do see we have an anonymous question. Are there a number of campers and counselors more than last year? So yes. So last year, I shared a little bit earlier, we had about 24 attendees in total. And there were 13 individuals with Usher syndrome. This year, we're going up to 40, 29 of which will be individuals with Usher syndrome. And again, based on the response of who applies will determine how many campers, how many counselors in training, how many counselors, and how many staff. So just to give you a little bit more information about our counselors in training. So all of our campers are individuals that are ages 11 to 17. However, if you are the age 15, 16, or 17, you're getting some additional responsibilities. So our counselors will be mentoring you and giving you some responsibilities throughout the day. And this may look a little bit different to our campers and counselors from last year. From our pilot, we have some additional things that will happen so that we will integrate into some of the traditional things that FLC requires their staff to do. So you'll be responsible for maybe being at mess hall early to help set up and get breakfast ready for the attendees. Everybody will have a responsibility. So if you are interested in being a counselor in training, we will know that by the birth date on the application, and we will talk to you about that directly. Any other questions in this chat pod, Nancy?
No, we're good.
Okay, great. Any final words, Brett or Rebecca or Jeff, that you would like to share?
Well, you know, I'm always short on words, always, unless I'm delivering a monologue about testing. Listen, we had a fabulous camp experience last year. For those of you who'd like to see my beautiful face telling you all about it, there is a video out there somewhere where I expressed just how much of a fantastic week it was. And on reflection, I think it was just a great week. It didn't matter who was attending. You know, I know that certainly Alan needs to make sure that he rests up well in advance, because it can be quite tiring walking up and down that hill. I've pre-ordered ice cream every morning for breakfast for Alan, just to make sure that his shirt fits nice and snug this summer. But no, we cannot wait to see you again.
Thank you. We feel the same. And Pam, pod. Rebecca, always interrupting. In the chat pod, you will be able to actually, when you go to USHthis.org, there is a box that says why FLC, and as Brett shared, it is a very humble testimonial about his experience with our camp. Like I said, Nancy and I and Rebecca visited many camps in our efforts last year to secure a home for our experience, and it was without a doubt, we woke up at Forest Lake, and the second that we met Brett, Jeff, and Tobin, and additional staff, it was no question in our mind, we found our home. So we can't thank you both enough. We hope to be part and to offer this opportunity for many, many years to come.
There's one question from Megan. Should we wait until the governor's address until we complete the camp application?
That is a great question, and the answer is no. If you can please go ahead and express your interest. As you may remember, by this time last year, we already had applications in and already registered and started the process. So we are a little bit behind the game because we had to hold off with everything that we had experienced due to COVID-19. So we want to encourage everyone, if you are interested, please apply as soon as possible. That will give us the time to do what we need to do on the back end to make sure that we have everything we need to provide this experience to you.
Just reiterate, we're doing the exact same with all of our campers. We do expect something from the governor next couple of days. But either way, what is said about summer camps and the impact his words may have on us this summer, that may not impact the week we've got for you guys in August. So it may fall in a different category. So there's a lot of unknowns here, and I certainly would encourage everyone to proceed as you would.
The worst thing that can happen is you could lose your spot. And that's what we're telling all of our camper families too. We have veteran campers who are of the opinion that maybe they should delay their spot. But of course, because other camps are closing, we're seeing a big boost in enrollment for summer camp. So we're telling everybody, you know, enroll, get your name down as fast as you can.
Yes, I would have to agree. And again, we can just for everyone to share with everyone, we have no control over who applies. And again, the restrictions on how many people you could have together for an event will determine based on the applications that we have. So if we don't meet capacity, as Jeff had shared, we may not fall within this certain realm of having to be approved. We could be approved separately under a different line for the governor. So please, please, please go ahead and register. We are excited to start receiving those applications. Okay, well, it's about 2 minutes to 8. We are right on target with time. I want to thank our interpreter this evening and our captioner for joining us. I want to thank all of our FLC staff and our Ava's Voice family for being here as well. Again, I can't express enough how excited we are to be able to potentially host this opportunity again this summer. And for all of the campers and returning counselors on the call, we miss you guys. We're here. I hope you have received our packages up until this point. And we hope to see you again soon. So I want to thank you. Any last words, Rebecca?
I was just texting. Ooh, No, I'm on. Okay. I was just texting with Nancy Quarterman about how great the video was. I was lucky that you showed it to me earlier because I knew I was going to miss it. So I think hopefully everybody saw it, that it really is just such a special experience. I grew up going to summer camp for way too long. And I just think to be able to have this opportunity for us all to be together. And, you know, for instance, as I mentioned in the video, you know, to have a cochlear implant or a device fall off and, you know, be sort of anxious about trying to find it and be around people who like get it on a level that nobody else can understand. And there's so many things that happen at this camp that are so unique to people and like us, that it's so nice to just kind of be fluid in between feeling like you're just fully a camper and also able to just be around people who understand kind of, you know, the device situation. And I don't know, it's just such a special time. And so I'm really, really hopeful that this will be able to happen again. And I'm so excited to see everybody.
Yes, and we are going to add little carrying cases to the list so that Mom and I are not carrying 10 devices when everybody wants to just pop them off their ears. So we'll be increasing our packing list as well.
Cool.
All right, well, it's 8 o'clock on the dot. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And we will be sharing this video tomorrow. So we encourage you to share so that we can identify more campers and counselors